Are you looking for ways to support your teaching groups to maximize their grades? Are you teaching those borderliners and need that extra oomph to get them across the finish line? In the business of exams, marks is the only thing that matters. The more the marks, the better the graded outcomes. Therefore, it is incumbent on teachers to train their students on ways to maximize their marks, and imperative that students get these skills into practice. Let's explore 5 approaches that aids in the improvement of exam outcomes for any student. There is no better way to practice for an exam than using exam practice questions. The questions expose students to the demand of the exams by providing students with questions of a similar ilk to that which they will be using or seeing in the exam conditions. It helps to assess strengths, areas for development, and provide the scope for such improvements by tackling similar questions. To use exam practice questions masterfully, there are 4 other approaches that will support in maximizing outcomes, and we will examine each of those. Too many times, students open an exam booklet and start working at questions in numerical order and getting stuck or losing time, ending without finishing, and then see questions further in the paper that they could answer but didn't get to tackle. When students are given a set of exam questions, they need to be provided with 1/10 of the paper's duration to brag the questions. This is where students scan for keywords, topic connections, and decipher their confidence level question by question. If it's a question that they are confident in answering, then they should tick the question. If it's a question that they may be able to answer, then they should circle the question. If they are unsure about their ability to answer the question, then they should square the question. For questions that they are certain they cannot answer, then they should mark the question with a cross. These students are able to then go back and tackle the questions in their order of confidence, maximizing their marks as they go along. Students many times let the pressure get better than them, and they forget simple connections and strategic approaches to answering their questions. Teaching students to peel the questions, assist them with retrieval, connections, and formulating strategic approaches to answering the questions. Reading the question and establishing the point of the question, what it is asking them to do exactly, is the first step. Then students need to evaluate the question, to look at the relevant information, making connections, formulating approaches, getting quotes, formulas or units of measurements, dates, and other information retrieval to assist in setting up and laying out a response. Then students need to provide evidence, and providing the evidence is where they're looking at a relevant structure, working out and a systematic layout that shows their understanding of the question's demand. Lastly, looking over the evidence to ensure that the point is addressed and all the requirements and demands of the questions are met. Many students work at a high standard in the classroom and with independent studies. However, they fail to demonstrate the same level of performance on their actual exams or when working under exam conditions. Giving students opportunity to work under tightly timed sessions in a neutral environment as they answer their exam questions serves to acclimatize them to pressuring exam time's demand. Equally, creating enough intensity using exam-style questions that are demanding gives students familiarization to the experience of retrieval, application, and connection that exam conditions require. This approach empowers students to work well even under stressful exam conditions. It is often teachers' tendency to mark their students' assessment with a level of understanding to what their students were trying to convey. However, when marking the questions, teachers need to be marking like a diligent auditor, deducting marks where anything seems ambiguous and trying not to read into information or methods that were unclear. This disciplines students to be careful in their writing or their workings out, to use the appropriate vocabulary and demonstrate their skills clearly so that the examiner will understand what they are conveying to secure the marks required. Showing them mark schemes and explaining how marks are awarded and having them self and peer assess will also aid in them understanding the marking process better. Exams are rather demanding on both students and teachers. Teachers have their role to play in getting students as ready and prepared as possible to take on the daunting task of sitting and passing their exams. Equally, students have their part to play in being able to utilize the skills they have been taught in order to achieve their best grades possible. Regardless of which exams they will sit, marks matters. Therefore, the goal is to maximize their total marks and achieve their best possible grades. These techniques are tried and tested. Implementing them should add that extra boost your students need to excel in their exams. Which of these techniques do you already use? Which ones will you add to your teaching pedagogy?